Have you noticed that life doesn't move the same way it used to? Maybe your energy's changed, maybe your schedule's changed, maybe not needed in the same ways. And sometimes when life slows down, something, unexpected happens. And you start wondering, am I falling behind? Am I wasting this season? Did I miss my best years? Maybe you've watched younger people moving faster, and maybe you're looking around and thought everyone else seems to have something exciting happening. Everyone else seems busy, and I'm over here and I'm trying to remember where I put my glasses. Maybe you've thought those things. And why does it feel like everyone else's life is just speeding up? Well, I feel like mine is just slowing down. And if you've ever thought that, you're not alone and you're not behind. Today, I want to show you why slower doesn't mean less, and what God may actually be doing in this season, and why some of the deepest work when life becomes quieter. Because different doesn't mean done, and slower doesn't mean we live in a world that we don't matter, because we do know that this world does celebrate speed. Faster, bigger, more, but God often sees things differently. It reminds me where I live. I see the farmers out there, and they plant those seeds and they grow so slowly. And fruit on the trees grow so slowly. Wisdom develops slowly. Even Jesus spent 30 years preparing for 3 years of ministry. Just because you don't see rapid change doesn't mean God isn't working. And sometimes we just get nervous when things are just taking longer than we expected. But God doesn't. He's never been in a hurry. And maybe that's something we need to remember in this season. When life was busy, there were so many things demanding our attention. Schedules, responsibility, people needing you, problems to solve. But slower seasons, well, they have a way of revealing what matters and who matters and what brings peace and what no longer needs to be carried. And sometimes slowing down isn't loss, sometimes it's clarity. And sometimes God removes the noise so we can hear Him again. And sometimes He removes the distractions so we can pay attention to what truly is supposed to matter right now. And that's not something to fear, that's something to receive. And if we haven't met yet, I'm Annette, a pastor, author, and a fierce fisherwoman too. And here on God Stories with Annette, we talk about truth and real life for women in their legacy season, so you can keep walking with God in purpose and courage, one next step at a time. And if that's the kind of encouragement you need, I'd love for you to subscribe. Now, let's talk about something I didn't understand when life first began slowing down. I think this is where I often misunderstand God, because I assumed that if nothing dramatic was happening, nothing important is happening. But throughout Scripture, I saw something different. Moses spent 40 years tending sheep. David spent years in the wilderness. And Jesus spent 30 quiet years before 3 years of ministry. And Jesus often withdrew to lonely places so that he could talk to God, to pray. God is not afraid of quiet seasons. Sometimes he uses them. Sometimes he restores us. Sometimes he's teaching us. Sometimes he's preparing us. And he simply reminds us that our worth was never tied to how busy we were. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't choose to slow down. But in 2024, I felt like somebody just slammed on those brakes and slammed them hard. And to be honest, I wasn't very happy about it. I had 5 surgeries that year, and then after the surgeries, it seemed like one after another, to have more processes because of the surgery, and then recovery time. everything seemed very slow, and my preferred speed is not slow. I'm more of a let's get this done kind of girl. And some days I felt like I was making progress, and then other days I was trying to remember which medicine I took and where I left my glasses. The medications affected me physically and mentally. They affected all parts of my life, and I found myself wondering when I am going to get my energy back. When am I going to be able to pick up speed again? When am I going to get to go back to normal? But in the middle of all of that, something unexpected happened. I spent a lot of time simply resting in God's presence, trusting Him for the day in front of me. And some days, well, were better than other days. And I had to learn to be content with that. Now, contentment wasn't exactly the lesson I would have signed up for, but it was the lesson God had for me. And along with contentment came something else. Peace with God. Peace with where I am and where I was. Peace with what I couldn't control. And I think one of the biggest things God showed me was this. I had quietly begun believing that being busy made me valuable. Not that I would have said that out loud, but somewhere inside me, I was starting to measure my worth by productivity. And God was teaching me something very different. My worth has never been tied to how much I could accomplish. Even though I do love being productive, my worth has always been tied to Him. And honestly, I'm still learning that lesson. But I'm grateful He's patient enough to keep teaching me. The world asks, how much did you accomplish? And God asks, were you faithful? Those are two very different questions. Maybe faithfulness today looks like resting without guilt. Maybe it looks like showing kindness to your husband. Maybe it looks like praying for a prodigal child one more time. And maybe it looks like keeping your doctor's appointment. Maybe it looks like encouraging a younger woman. Maybe it looks like making a phone call, writing a note, praying for someone, showing up when you didn't really want to. Or maybe just faithfulness today simply looks like getting out of bed and trusting God with another day. And friend, God sees all of that. Nothing done in love and faithfulness is ever wasted. Sometimes interpret change as loss, but maybe God is simply inviting us into a whole different season, not smaller, but different, not less meaningful, but different, not finished, but different. Different does not mean done. And before you decide your life has become smaller, take inventory. Look at the children you raised. Look at the people you're praying for and have prayed for. Look at the wisdom you've gained. Look at the storms God has brought you through. Look at the ways He's changed you. Look at the people who trust you enough to call you when they're hurting. Friend, that fruit doesn't disappear, and neither did your purpose. So, if you've started feeling like life has slowed down, remember this: God often works slowly. Slower seasons reveal what matters most. And some of the deepest work in quiet places happens with God. The world measures productivity and God measures faithfulness. And your life isn't shrinking, it's changing. Because slower doesn't mean less, and different doesn't mean done. And you're wondering, where is God in this? I think you're going to really enjoy the next video on the screen. When your house gets quiet, God shows up the most. Because sometimes the very season we fear becomes the place where we discover God in ways we never expected. Now receive it. Replace the lie with the truth and reach forward. Take the one next step. And remember, God isn't finished with you yet.